What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports MLB Swing for the Fences show. And yes, we are a little bit late, about 10 minutes late. Ron Rice in the chat is not happy with us. Other companies are never late, always on time with their shows. So we got to get going here. We got to move quick to make Ron happy. He is not a happy camper with the late start here. Got a small slate, so we'll be able to move through it pretty quickly. Got some afternoon baseball going on right now. The next slate starting up here pretty soon, 7 games, like we said. And we're going to dive into it, talk pitchers, talk hitters, see what we can dig up on this slate. DC, how's it going over there? Any initial thoughts here on this 7-game slate tonight?
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of the early slate. I was on with Mangone on Mangone and Friends early this morning. Hit some pretty good cores, some close teams in the big tournaments for me, and hopefully some subscribers. But kind of like the early slate, a little bit thin on pitching. You know, Hoop, we've been on this week a couple times, and there's been like 7 or 8 pitchers that we talked about using interchangeably. But those slates kind of burn through a lot of the good pitchers out there, right? And so now we're getting toward the back end of some of these rotations. And then there's still some good options, but not that many, where I think, you know, those slates we were talking about, maybe focusing in, dialing in on your offenses and spreading it around a little bit on pitching if you're playing multiple lineups. I think tonight might be a little bit of the opposite, where you focus in on 2, 3, maybe 4 pitchers and spread out the offenses more, right? And so it's just kind of a reminder, you got to let the slate, to some extent, dictate your strategy, right? You can't have the same exact strategy every slate. You got to look at the player pool, you know, look at ownerships, look at projections, and then try to come up with the best strategy for yourself to put yourself in a winning position. So I'm sure we'll do that on the show, but it is definitely a different slate than the last couple that we've been on together.
Yeah, it's the beauty of it. I mean, we talked about it. I mean, you and I both like to typically keep our pitcher player pool pretty tight. The last couple slates haven't really dictated that. Tonight, it's different. I mean, we'll get into it and talk about it, but you know, I think there's 2, maybe 3 clear plays. I'll have a very tight core at pitcher. And, you know, the most important part of what you brought up there is, you know, you have to let the slate dictate the route you take. And that's why it's important to dive through it, not only, you know, just the offenses, but the pitchers, and really analyze everything. You can't get set in a way and say, you know what, on full slates, I'm playing 8 pitchers, but like you have to, you have to be willing to move around a little bit and let the slate dictate the direction that you go. And you'll see it's going to be a little bit different today than it's been the last couple of days here on the show in terms of what we like and how we're going to go about building our teams. AP, what's going on? Your Royals, I believe, disappointed. 10-0 shutout, man. Ooh, that's just
the game the game was good though. We were on the Cardinals, so it was good. And thanks for having me, guys. Like I guess my NBA takes are like so bad right now, they kicked me off the NBA content. So you guys are stuck with me. Hopefully my baseball ones are a little bit better. Sneakily, I've been having a good baseball year. So and I think when I've been on core duties, I think they've been pretty good. Typically in line with both of you, which is always a good thing. But I like when pitching is easy. I think tonight there's 2 clear-cut guys that I'm probably just going to lock into. I'm running 3 builds tonight. I could definitely just lock them into all 3. And I think it's going to be a slate where then I focus on 3 different hitting spots. And hopefully my pitchers just get it done. And it's a strategy I've been, employing so far this season, just having a tight pitching pool, and it's worked out for me.
Yeah, exactly. And, I think we're going to be on the same pitchers. We'll talk about it here in a few, but just wanted to circle back to the chat. Our boy Ron Rice said he's just giving us a little shit. He said, mad respect. He loves everything we do. He's just having a little fun. So, we had to throw it back at him. So Ron, you're back in the good graces here at Run Pure Sports. Glad you're here. Listen to the show with us. All right, let's just hop into the pitching and kind of have that conversation right now. Before we do that, please do us that favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It helps us to continue to bring you guys these shows for free on a daily basis. At the top of the pitcher pool at 9-9 on DK, you have Nestor Cortez. Tough matchup here against Toronto. Come down a little bit. Lucas Giolito is one of the guys I think that we're all probably going to be on. Good spot here in Chicago. It's 45 degrees. The wind is blowing in, I believe. Yeah, blowing in a little bit, about 10 miles an hour. And that's somewhat significant in in Wrigley. Alex Wood, a guy I don't have a ton of interest in. The next guy I do like is Freddie Peralta, though, at 8.9K. Gets this home matchup against Cincinnati, big favorites. We saw what Woodruff did last night. I mean, just ringing these guys up one right after another. I think he had 12 strikeouts. Peralta's looked pretty good in his last couple starts after a rough outing. So, I mean, up top, the 8K and above range, the two guys that just immediately stand out to me are Giolito and Freddie Peralta. I'll go to you first, AP, because you said you kind of have two guys on your radar. Are those two of the guys that you're looking at tonight?
Yeah, I mean, those are definitely the two guys that I'm looking at. And I think it's pretty easy. Like Giolito, always like interested in him. Very high strikeout rate. Benefits here from, really nice matchup. High strikeout matchup, I believe, as well. So, and then, cold weather, winds blowing in a little bit. And then Freddie Peralta. I mean, you said it best, like against a bad Cincinnati team. Sorry, Uncle T. But you got to deal with it. That's just how the team is, kind of like my Royals right now. And yeah, I mean, I feel very good about those guys. Now today, I'm curious to see what you guys have to say, because we saw some more runs scored today. Not sure how many like home runs, but it does maybe seem like the tide is starting to turn. I know DC, you went on kind of a rant. Maybe it was like late last week, how like, look, stacking is still the way to go. Like the runs are going to come. It's going to turn around. I mean, one, we need the weather to warm up, obviously, but two, it does seem, maybe it's just me watching the Royals too much and just watching how bad they are and they have no pitching. And so maybe it's that bias that's factoring in. But I do think tonight's going to be a night where maybe we see some offense, and there's definitely a couple spots that I like, but I feel very good about Freddie Peralta and Lucas Giolito. And honestly, yeah, those are the two guys that I'm considering just locking in. I do see a few other maybe tournament type options that are cheaper if we want to get some power bats or more expensive bats in our lineups tonight. But I definitely would be fine starting with Giolito and Peralta.
Yeah. In terms of the runs, yeah, I mean, today so far, 6 out of the 7 games have gone over the total, which is way more than we've seen the last couple of weeks. So, I mean, maybe something starting to turn there. DC, take on the runs today, and then the top tier of this pitching spectrum on DK.
God, I hope so. On the runs. I kind of doubt that it's really changed for the better here. Probably just kind of a fluke afternoon slate is the most likely thing. We're trying to pinpoint one day when they like switch all the baseballs, and half a day of games. Hard to draw too much of a conclusion from that. You can actually, obviously haven't done it yet, but you can look at like how far a batted ball flies based on the exit velocity and the launch angle and the weather, and then compare that to other similar batted balls and look at that. And that's how we've kind of known. Smarter people than me have done that, and that's how we've kind of known that the balls have been different. But I mean, even like yesterday in the night slate, I think it was like through 12 innings across all the games, it was 0-0. Like 0 runs have been scored, and then all of a sudden, the runs started pouring in. This morning, this afternoon, we saw a lot of home runs out there. So that would be awesome if offenses were starting to wake up. Kind of doubt that's the truth, and at least for now, I'll be kind of operating under the assumption that we're going to see more low-scoring games. But man, do I hope I'm wrong about that. And there's not only so much you can do to really adjust to it anyway. Hoop and I have had conversations on each slate about the proper approach to the new environment. But there's minor changes that you can make, right? There's not only so much you can do, and certain pitchers benefit a little bit from it, but it's not some drastic thing where it's like aces turn to scrubs and scrubs turn to aces based on a little bit of difference in the baseball. So not a lot you can do, but just makes for more entertaining games when you don't feel like you have to have the only 5 home runs on the slate. So we'll hope that things have changed in terms of pitching on this slate. Yeah, I mean, AP talking about the two guys that he liked. He didn't mention them at the top of the show. I would have laid 4-1 that I can name the exact two guys that they were out of 14 pitchers, right? Like it's just so obvious. Giolito, Peralta, clearly the top 2 arms on the slate. But when it's that obvious, it's that obvious to a lot of people. So listen, if you're playing, in the big stuff, the $15 stuff, I still don't think you have to go a different direction if you don't want to. We'll see these guys probably 50% owned, 50% owned in the which is a lot for a 7-game slate, but it's not everybody. And only maybe 40% of teams will have both those guys. So that's still most of the field that doesn't have that top 2 combination. I feel really good about Giolito and Peralta. I would be surprised if they struggled, but you never know. And you can go a couple of different ways. There's not a lot of different directions to go, but there is at least a couple of them. My favorite guy outside of the obvious Giolito, Peralta is Garrett Whitlock for the Boston Red Sox. He's 7.8K. Really, really nasty stuff. Tons of strikeouts. He's got 20 strikeouts through 16 and 2/3 innings so far. 0.5 ERA. I mean, he's been unhittable. He's really, really nasty. We don't know how far into this game he's going to go. He's been kind of a long man reliever type starter/reliever hybrid, but he is on full rest here. They did let him go 61 pitches in his last start, and I bet they let him push toward 80, which, if he's on his game, he can get through 5 innings maybe. I know the matchup's not perfect against the Angels, but he is the type of guy that could rack up 7 or 8 strikeouts over 5 innings. So I think he could match Peralta and Giolito, especially if those guys struggle at all. Dylan Bundy, it's not really fun recommending him, but he's another pitcher that they will give him the full workload. Threw 94 pitches in his last outing, and that was after, I think, a horrible first inning where he gave up, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, 4 or 5 earned runs, and they still let him get through 6. So he does have a long leash. He does have some strikeout upside. He had 3 good starts before that. Then he gets his Baltimore team. We know how well that park is playing for pitching. And we know that Bundy does have some strikeout upside, especially in this pretty easy matchup. He's at like almost 20 strikeouts to 3 walks on the year, getting ground balls. Those look pretty good in general. So I do think Bundy's got a chance to pitch well. So yeah, Whitlock, Bundy, Alex Wood, I think is okay. We don't love the matchup, of course, going into LA, but he's a good pitcher that has a full workload. And then the last guy that I would personally consider would be Kyle Hendricks. Not my favorite guy to roster, but another, full workload type starter. The weather in Wrigley, we know wind's blowing in. He's comfortable there. And this White Sox team really hasn't been hitting very well. So I think he's got a chance to pitch well. But clearly the two top guys, Peralta, Giolito, if you're playing cash games, there's no question those are going to be the 2 guys in your lineup, at least in my eyes. Tournaments, if you want to get different, those are the guys I would look at. Bundy or Whitlock 1 for me, Bundy 2, and then maybe you mix in Hendricks or Wood if you want to get way off the board. But probably mostly sticking to those 4 guys: Peralta, Giolito, Whitlock, and Bundy myself.
One more guy I wanted to ask you about, Bradish for the Orioles. Cheap, 5.5K. They did let him go, 6 innings in that start against Boston. Serviceable, didn't get many strikeouts, only 2. Any interest in punting with him and on some of your lineups?
I looked at him, anticipating maybe having some interest just because he's so cheap, and the results were good in that first start. Underlying metrics, not so much. Didn't get many whiffs. It's a pretty contact-oriented, I almost said Timberwolves, Twins lineup out there today. No Byron Buxton, which is obviously a boon, but I don't love it with Bradish. Yeah, 5.5K, playable on this slate, I would say, but he would be, 5th or 6th for me.
All right, AP, if you're not going Peralta and Giolito, which it sounds like you're going to on most of your teams, or if not all of them, who are a couple other guys you might have some interest in?
Yeah, I mean, so the one other guy I was looking at was Dylan Bundy. I mean, part of the problem is pricing. Like, these guys are underpriced. I think they're clearly in a tier of their own, and they're just underpriced. Like Nestor Cortez is the most expensive, and a guy that we didn't really even talk about. And, he had I believe it was against the Royals. He had a rough outing. So I actually like a few Blue Jays right-hand bats here against him. If you want to stack the Yankees, which I know we'll get into and has just been an absolute printer of late. So I just think Freddie Peralta and Lucas Giolito are just underpriced. They're in a tier of their own. Dylan Bundy, he's the other guy that I have on my list. I just like Kyle Hendricks when I could just go up to these other guys. Yeah. Like, I mean, you're betting on weather there. I know the White Sox haven't been batting as good, but Timmy Anderson has been batting pretty decent. And I believe Luis Robert, he's kind of starting to wake up too. I mean, these guys have so much power that, man, we just don't know when they're going to explode. I'd rather like use the White Sox as a contrarian stack against a guy like Hendricks if he's going to get any type of ownership at all, which it doesn't look like. It looks like all the ownership is just going to consolidate around Peralta and Giolito, and then maybe Bundy a little bit, but I'm fine with that. I mean, with MLB, it's so easy to get different with our stacks and with our hitting. So I don't mind eating some chalk at pitching.
Yeah, and then someone had posted a comment in the chat about Kyle Hendricks on FanDuel. He's really cheap on FanDuel at 7.1K, but man, I'd still just have a hard time on a one pitcher site not just playing Giolito or Peralta. I mean, seems super safe. We know the downside with Kyle Hendricks, and the downside's bad. Like when he comes out and he's getting hit, like he just doesn't have many outs because he doesn't strike out a lot of guys. So I think it's a little bit risky for me.
One last comment, and this is just because I've been still in the NBA streets, and I've just been more so on the other side listening to these shows. If I was going to do anything, it wouldn't be Dylan Bundy, because that's what everyone's going to do. I think the move here is Garrett Whitlock. Listening to what DC had to say about that. No one's going to play him. That's how you get your leverage if you want to get a little bit different, because I think the play that everyone's going to make is going to Bundy. Take it a step further, especially in large field tournaments, and go with Whitlock. I mean, the leash, sure, that's one thing in my notes that I wrote up, a possible concern. But if he's pitching well, and I mean, DC, you've been so spot on so many of these spots where these guys are really low owned. He's worth a tournament shot for sure.
Yeah. Do you guys know his projected ownership? I mean, if it's low enough,
6%,
yeah,
5%.
There. Listen, the Red Sox are struggling right now. They need to win games. Whitlock, he's a starter coming up. 61 pitches in his last start. I think he's on 6 days rest here, I believe. They'll probably let him go if he's rolling. And he is the type of guy who, he could strike out 5 of the 6 first batters he faced. He's got that kind of stuff. So he does have the upside. And, like even if Giolito and Peralta are rolling, sometimes they get into the road bumps in the 5th or 6th inning, give up a run or two, knock them back down to 20 fantasy points. Whitlock can definitely get you that many. I'm not saying he will, but he definitely can. Whereas most of these guys are just don't really see it. So yeah, I think Whitlock makes sense if you're looking to get off the board at pitching, just because he does have the strikeout upside. You don't love the matchup, right? Like the Angels do have a tough lineup. Fenway's a tough place to pitch. You get it. He's going to be low owned for a reason, but he's relatively cheap and certainly he's got the type of stuff where he can mow down any lineup. I really believe that. So yeah, I think Whitlock does make some sense as a contrarian play.
Our boy Ron in the chat is coming full circle now. He's backing up the plays with stats as well. He's got the stats for Whitlock if you're into that. So check out the chat. He's got the swinging strike rate. He's got a bunch of other stuff that I don't understand. So if you're into the baseball stats, our boy Ron, who was criticizing us for being 10 minutes late, is now come full circle and working in conjunction with the Run Pure team. You absolutely love to say more stats are popping up too. I mean, this guy's on fire. So gotta love what Ron's doing here. All right, let's get into the offense here. We're gonna do a little different today. There's 7 games. We're just gonna go through each game and kind of, if there's any interest, talk about if there's any interest in stacks or one-offs or, what we might be looking at or potentially fading. So let's hop into the games. Before we do that, please do us that favor, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. I know it's a Thursday afternoon. There's a afternoon slate. So, viewership's down a little bit, but 260, let's get the likes up to, we'll keep it easy, 150, and then we'll get to the plays of the day at the end of the show. So hit that like, hit that subscribe as well. Let's get into the games. First game, we got the Twins, we got the Orioles. Big story here is the stadium and the low totals. I mean, obviously this was a hitter-friendly park. They made some adjustments to it, and now it appears to be very pitcher-friendly. Another low total here, 7.5. Moderate interest, I think, in both pitchers here. I know Bundy was brought up when we talked about pitchers. I have a little interest in Bradish. Not a ton in terms of the bats here. I mean, our guy Miranda is in the lineup again for the Twins. He's 2K flat. If you need a punt at third base, I'm going to continue to play him, a guy that has shown a lot of upside in the minors, but not necessarily going to spend, I don't think, on any of these bats. I do prefer the Twin side over the Orioles side. Buxton out of the lineup, that sucks, but it provides an opportunity to get some cheaper bats. And I don't know if we necessarily need these cheap bats, but you got a leadoff hitter in Araz at 3.6. Larnach betting fourth. He's 2.5K. Miranda 2K. So if you're trying to stack up some of these expensive teams like the Rockies, you could potentially come here and look up some of these Twins guys. On the Orioles side, I don't think I'm really going to play any Orioles. Orioles are going to be a full fade for me. Low team total, under 3.5. So no Orioles for me. Moderate interest in the Twins as lineup fillers, I'd say. DC, I'll go to you first. Any interest here in bats in this Twins and Orioles game?
Yeah, I like the Twins a little bit. Bradish making his second career start. Well, first of all, I got to say, 7.5 total in Camden Yards with a rookie pitcher and Dylan Bundy on the hill. Just ridiculous. It's not even bad weather. It's like 70 degrees in Camden Yards. So I don't know. What would the total have been last year at this time in this weather? 10 in this game?
10.
At least 9.5. I mean, at the minimum.
So pretty crazy difference there. But yeah, I do kind of like stacking in particular against these rookie pitchers. And I know Bradish got through that first outing, but like I said, the underlying metrics didn't look good for him. Got pretty much got pretty lucky in that game. And the Twins have some power. They've got some cheap bats. And I do still think Baltimore, it hasn't been so far, but I think it still is going to be a pretty good place to hit for left-handed bats with that right field fence. It's going to be trying to go out, hit home runs out to left field. That's just going to be a death trap for hitters. But, most of these guys at the top of the Twins lineup, they do swing from the left side. Arraez, Polanco, Larnach, and then, Correa has got power to all fields, and Miranda's cheap enough where you don't need a home run out of it, right? A couple doubles and you're good to go there. So that top five for the Twins, I think, is interesting against Bradish. I just think some of these rookie pitchers, you just got a better chance of implosion, right? If they lose the strike zone at the big league level, they get nervous and things can just go south in a hurry for these younger guys. So that's kind of the primary reason I like the Twins. We just don't know how good Bradish is. I had my doubts after that first outing. On the Orioles side, not going to stack them against Bundy, but there's two things you want against Bundy. It's left-handed power and you want speed. And right at the top of the lineup, Cedric Mullins, a little bit slow start for him, but again, all 30 of his home runs were pulled last year to right field or center field. So he's not really affected at all by the fence moving out in left field. He could run on Dylan Bundy, and Mullins, despite the slow start, had a monster season last year. So I do really like the matchup for Cedric Mullins. I think he'll go overlooked, and I'm not going to go crazy with the Orioles. But when a whole stack is overlooked, you can take the one off, right? Because Mullins can kind of do it on his own. You don't need his teammates to do anything around him. And even if they do, it's not like many people are going to have the Orioles anyway. So I do really, really like Cedric Mullins tonight. I've got some interest in the twin stack. And yeah, I guess that's kind of it. Probably not playing any other Orioles outside of Mullins, though.
Yeah, like that call. AP, any interest here in some of these cheap Twins bats or anything on the Orioles side for you?
Yeah, very, very similar thoughts to DC. I mean, we did see some runs here yesterday. I believe 9 total, 7 coming from the Twins side and 1 home run from Jeffers. I think it was batting 7th. And yeah, I think the lefties here, like Bradish looks on the surface. I mean, obviously we don't have that much of a sample, but looks like a pitcher that we could attack, low strikeout rate. I mean, the sample honestly is like too low to really even like dive into it that deep, but I'm on page with everything that the DC said. Miranda, I believe he's he just came up, right? He came up with Hernandez about at the same time.
Yeah, Monday I believe he came up. Yeah,
and he was just behind the Royals guy, the Royals catcher, in home runs, right? I mean, both of those guys can match.
Yeah,
I believe.
Twins minor league player of the year, just absolutely crushed. Yeah, he's going to be. Yeah. I've seen all of his at bats so far. He's going to hit. I feel pretty confident about that.
So I like, here's kind of an interesting way. I'm going to need some cheap bats tonight. I like the lefties here. I like everything that DC had to say about that. The weather's nice. Like, temperature wise, this is going to be one of the better spots on the slate. I'm fine with the lefties here. Give me Larnach, give me Mullins, Odor, a guy that you're getting 0 from, or maybe you're getting a home run. I mean, it's usually one or the other. So I do prefer, obviously I don't want to attack Dylan Bundy, but I do like the idea of a one-off if you're mini stacking, maybe one side of this game. So I could see I'm running 3 builds tonight. I definitely see this as one potential spot. And I think it's going to be really contrarian considering some of the other spots on this slate. So yeah, sign me up for bats here. I did have this graded much higher with Buxton and the lineup. So, I mean, the Twins obviously downgrade with Buxton not in there, but I still think there's some cheap bats that can do us some good in this lineup against Bradish.
Yeah, Buxton out, obviously a downgrade for the lineup overall, but it does present some opportunities for cheaper guys to get better lineup spots, specifically Larnach batting second, 2.5K. All right, let's go to the Yankees, Blue Jays, 8 total. Yankees got it done late last night. Aaron Judge continues to hit the ball well. Stanton had a homer as well, and they get a lefty here on the road against Toronto. Really like these Yankees bats. Judge, like I said, on a heater. Stanton, Rizzo's a guy you can always play. He's one of the few guys I feel comfortable lefty. Donaldson starting to hit a little bit. LeMahieu just kind of does enough each game. I mean, he's been pretty solid. If he gets on base, he's got a pretty good chance of scoring with those guys behind him. Love the Yankees today, one of my favorite teams. Then I'm going to have some Blue Jays as well. I don't think many people are going to play the Blue Jays. I look at Nestor Cortez, most expensive guy on DraftKings. We don't think he should be the most expensive guy on DraftKings, but I think people will maybe avoid the Blue Jays here. And the prices are actually good. Like Springer's under 5K, Vlad's at 5.1. That's a very fair price tag. I like Chapman as well. So I'm coming here for some offense. Yankees will get some ownership. I think the Blue Jays have a chance to go a little bit overlooked tonight. So two teams that I like offensively for stacks and obviously one-off pieces because these guys have the power that we want. I'll go to you first, AP. Thoughts here on this Yankees and Blue Jays game?
Yeah, I mean, this is a spot I absolutely love. Like I've just been when I've been playing, I've been stacking the Yankees up. Definitely been playing Aaron Judge, and the thing that I've noticed he's not typically, I mean, some slates he's going to get some ownership, but with where his price is at and with this being a core slate, I think he could be a little bit lower owned. And I think people get in that mindset. They're like, oh man, hit a home run last night. He can't do it again. Yeah, he can. He could definitely do it again. I mean, it's like I'm very confident that tonight against Kikuchi, a guy that I don't think is very good, I see him giving up at least 1, maybe 2 home runs here. Sign me up for Aaron Judge. I think you can stack this game up too. Stanton, Judge, even go Rizzo, lefty. I like that. The problem is making that stack work with the 2 pitchers that we like. I think that's going to be very difficult to do. So if you want to get exposure to some power here, if you like some of those cheap guys, it's going to bring you to kind of a weird roster construction. But given the state of MLB right now, that could work, especially if these underpriced pitchers, in my opinion, like if they go off and you need them, play this 3K Miranda guy he's 2K playing third base, play him at min salary, maybe with Larnach in there. And then you should easily be able to get a guy like Aaron Judge and maybe 2 other pieces from this Yankee side. And I think if you want to take it a step further, I think you could attack Cortez here. I would do it with Springer or Bichette. But again, they're priced up and it's not going to be that easy to get them into your lineup. So roster construction is going to be very interesting tonight. It could get me onto a guy like Whitlock, but still, I don't know, like he's 7,800. I don't know if that discount is enough to get some of these bats freed up. I haven't made any builds yet, but I'm definitely going to be playing around with it.
Yeah. DC, toss it over to you. What's your interest level in these Yankees and Blue Jays bats?
Yeah, I think this is probably the most interesting game on the slate to me. I've talked, people that have watched the show, I've talked a lot about Kikuchi getting right-handed hitters against him, where you look at, he was prior to this year, it was in Seattle his entire career, where his overall numbers were okay. But when you get him outside of Seattle, which is a great place to pitch, and against right-handed bats, so like away versus right-handed bats, just absolutely crushed. And we've seen that so far, where, every game's obviously outside of Seattle, outside of when you're playing Seattle, when you don't play for the team anymore. He's been getting spanked by right-handed bats. All the Yankees that you want, pretty much. Swing from the right side, pretty good place to hit, right? In the climate-controlled Rogers Center in Toronto. Red hot Yankees team. I mean, how can you not love the Yankees here? Yeah, top stack for me. But my favorite stack on the slate, once you consider ownership, is the Blue Jays. I've talked about Nestor Cortez. Listen, he's a pretty good pitcher, no question, but like he's topping out at like 90, 91 miles per hour. He is not the ace that he's priced like. I talked about it before his last start against Kansas City, where he was the top price guy. So he does a good pitcher, but it's not justified to be a 10K pitcher. And people are going to see, you know, still a relatively low Toronto total, right? A fair bit below 4 runs. Even the Yankees total isn't that high. And Toronto's got a ton of good bats at the top. I mean, obviously Springer, Guerrero, Bichette, Gurriel swinging a hot bat. Matt Chapman crushes lefties and is swinging pretty good so far. Espinal you can play if you need a punt. They've got a couple guys down there. Vincent Capra is 2K playing the outfield. So they've got options up and down that lineup, no question. And I just don't think Cortez is that great. I'm not at all afraid to use these right-handed Blue Jays against him. And they'll be, in my opinion, lower owned than they should be. I will bring up one final thing in this game. Part of the reason that the totals are so low is because both these teams have good bullpens, particularly, you know, their best 2, 3, 4 relievers. So I actually don't recommend game stacking this, because if you do that, if it's close, both teams are going to bring their best relievers out of the bullpen to try to keep the lead or keep it close. I like going to one side of this game, and hopefully, you know, you get your team up 4-5, 6-0, and the opposing team goes to their crappy relievers, right? Those guys, every team, they're back in relievers. The guys they used in mop-up duty, all those guys suck. It doesn't matter how good your bullpen is. So I like going to one side of this game. Maybe one team punts it off early if one of these pitchers gets rocked in the first 2-3 innings and piles it on late in the game. Again, prefer the Yankee side just in terms of how many runs I expect them to put up. But once you take into account ownership, I do think the Blue Jays are the overall better play. And they'll be represented in a lot of my lineups for sure. So I really like this game. Bats on both sides, but I'll, on each individual lineup, I'll probably just stack it up on one side.
Yeah, I like the over here too. I mean, I think one of these teams could hit the over by themselves. I wouldn't be surprised if Yankees or Blue Jays get the job done on their own and score 9 or 10 runs. So definitely like the over here, sitting at 8. Maybe there's a chance, the balls are different today. Who the hell knows? Runs are being scored. I mean, these games that are kicking off right now, we're seeing more runs being scored. So maybe we can get on the, beginning turn here to, some more runs. Next game, Angels, Red Sox, 8.5 total in this game. We talked about Whitlock. We have some interest in him. So not a ton of Angels for me. You can play Mike Trout any night if you want. You can play Ohtani any night if you want. I mean, fine options. But in terms of stacking up the Angels, not much interest. I do have some interest in the Red Sox. One guy that definitely stands out to me is JD Martinez. Really starting to hit the ball. 3 straight games, multiple hits, 2 home runs, home run in back-to-back games. Just really getting it done. A guy that typically hits lefties pretty well. So I do like the Red Sox here a little bit. Not much interest in the Angels though. Mostly, just Trout and Ohtani as one-offs. If you want, I probably won't be going that route today though. DC, thoughts here on this Angels Red Sox game?
Yeah, I'll probably avoid the Angels. If I was going to play them, it would probably be just a full-on stack, right? And hope Whitlock doesn't have it, just because they do have, obviously, the bats to punish a pitcher who doesn't have his best stuff or can't locate or whatever. Because, look at that top 5. Marsh, Trout, Ohtani, Rendon, Jared Walsh. Those are guys that are all dangerous bats. So I still do like Whitlock, but he's going to need his best stuff to navigate that lineup. You never know if he's going to have it on any given night. So if I was going to go Angels, I probably won't personally, but it would be a full stack of those top 5. Boston side, it's interesting. Reed Detmers pitching for the Angels. He does have good stuff. He is a very talented dude. But I believe first time pitching in Fenway Park. And I like going to the Red Sox against these young pitchers. I think that's just a really, really tough place to pitch. Detmers is a guy that I think is kind of implosion. It just can happen for him where he just doesn't have it as a young pitcher. And I do think Boston obviously has the bats to punish him if he does. So this is a game where, I'm probably not going to one-offs here because I do respect both of these talented young pitchers, but either guy could just not have it and get rocked. So Yeah, definitely prefer the Red Sox side. JD Martinez would be the top guy, but Story, Bogarts, Hernandez, all those guys I think are pretty good. Devers, of course, pretty good plays as well. But yeah, I won't have all that much exposure to this game myself outside of sprinkling in some Whitlock for sure.
AP, anything stand out to you here in this Angels Red Sox game?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like the Red Sox here are projecting to get some ownership, which makes sense given the park and everything. I think Detmer's like he's looked good so far. Like he looks like a guy that we don't necessarily want to attack. The Red Sox haven't been as good against left-handed pitching to start the season. A few things here. So like two things, and both kind of playing off what DC said. One, I think you full stack the Red Sox if you're going to play them. I wouldn't pick one off. Everyone's going to just play like a JD Martinez. He's too cheap. Everyone's going to play Trevor Story if they can. Like those two guys, if you play them, you're not going to be different. Full stack it up, in my opinion. The second thing too is like one thing where you were talking about earlier is Whitlock having to pitch well here, partly due to like the Red Sox offense struggling. So if they're going to project to get any type of ownership at all, this is going to be one of those spots where I'd rather get leverage. And I do think so. When you look at this lineup and you look at their pricing and compared to even like the Yankees, a team that's the hottest team in baseball right now, they're going to be lower owned. Just it comes down to pricing. It comes down to like, just when I'm kind of visualizing the lineup, it's going to be easier to play these Red Sox hitters with the two pitchers that we talked about. So this is where I'm going to get different. I'm probably going to be under, if not fully fading the Red Sox side. And honestly, I'm probably going to be fading the Angel side. So that's just one of the stands I'm going to make on this slate. And I'm building 3 lineups, and it's going to be how I get different.
All right, very good. DC, well, we go on to the next game. We need your weather report in Denver. It looks like there's a chance for some rain late in the game. So can you give us an up-to-date weather forecast here? We'll give you a few minutes. We'll go to AP first in the next game to give you a chance to get caught up. But you've been, I mean, honestly, it's not much of a joke because you've been spot on with the weather analysis so far this season for MLB.
Yeah, I'll pull it up.
All right, very good. All right, next game we got the Reds, we got the Brewers, 7.5 total. And it's going to be a one-sided game here from offense when you consider the offenses here. We love Freddie Peralta not picking on the Reds, although the guy in the chat yesterday did nail it, DC, not to distract you from your weather forecast. The guy, remember the Moustakas guy? He's like, can you play Moustakas as a one-off against Woodruff? And of course, we said, no, you don't want to do that. And then, Moustakas hits the bomb at 2K, so I was laughing.
I already took my L on that on the Mangone and Friends show, but I'll take another one here. It's all good. 2 L's deserved for the Moustakas gone. Sure.
You and I were probably both laughing as it happened because I saw him hit that bomb, and that's the first thing I thought of was the guy in the chat asking if he could play. And we're like, oh no, you don't want to do that. But that was funny.
I mean, is it not an interesting debate though? We got Jose Miranda, who's 2K, who's going to get ownership, and then you got, I mean, with how weird baseball is, like. You have Moustakas, who's 2K, and no one's going to play.
Well, we did talk about it. I mean, the one thing we did say yesterday was it's one of those, double leverage spots. Like no one was on Moustakas. Everyone's playing the pitcher. It's the same situation tonight. Everyone's going to be on Peralta. You have Moustakas. If Moustakas hits a bomb against the most popular pitcher, you get the double leverage. But last night didn't matter because Woodruff was able to get 12 strikeouts. So the one bomb, didn't really come into play all that much. But, it is interesting for the game theory people. On the Brewer side, go ahead.
This is where we need some BVP. BVP is the stat that's going to settle the debate. DC, you got any stats with that with Moustakas against Peralta?
I don't have them on top of me, but no.
Me either. I just messing.
I mean, he makes some sense if you're not on Peralta, right? If you're fading Peralta, you do probably want a red as a one-off, and I don't know. I mean, my point yesterday is just like you just haven't done anything in 2 years, but
yeah.
You see it once, and you at least know it's at least possible still. I mean, I don't think he's a bad play tonight, but I'm sure he'll go 4 with 4 strikeouts now that I
probably.
Brewer side, one of the bigger team totals on the slate, right around 5. I'm a sucker for the Brewers. I play them almost every slate when they're against a mediocre pitcher. Did well last night. I mean, they got the job done, and Gutierrez is maybe the worst pitcher on the slate. He's been awful so far, so I'll be going right back to the Brewers. Rowdy Tellez was the Rich Parents play of the day yesterday, got the job done. late in that game, I'm going to be heavy on him again. I mean, a guy that can just overcome whatever baseballs they're playing with. I mean, the guy has just raw power. So love Tellez, Renfro, all these guys. I don't even mind going down to the bottom of the lineup. Love the Brewers today. I think they're in a phenomenal spot. AP thoughts here on this Reds Brewers game.
Yeah, I mean Tat has been getting crushed by lefties too, so I'm with you. Tellez, a guy I've been playing also, got it done yesterday. I mean, you can play Christian Yelich as well. Colton Wong, I think he hit a home run yesterday as well, or at least had a good day. Not a home run.
Adames hit the home run. Wong hit a double, and he did a bunch. So I mean, the Brewers were very solid yesterday.
Yeah, I think this is and I'm not as familiar with like Cincy's pin or something like that, but I mean, it just seems like a spot where if you're going to play some Brewers, full stack it up and hope for a big day. And that's probably going to be one of my main stacks tonight too. So definitely on board. I'm fine eating some chalk here with the Brewers tonight.
Yeah, love the Brewers. DC, is it 3 for 3 on the Brewers with us?
Gotta be.
Yeah.
And challenging the Blue Jays for my favorite stack here. I do like the Brewers more than both Coors Field teams straight up. Gutierrez has been like just impossibly bad against lefties. He's got like twice as many walks as strikeouts, tons of home runs allowed. And the Reds bullpen has one left-handed pitcher in the entire pen who threw 25 pitches yesterday. Likely not going to use him. So just a parade of shitty right-handed pitchers coming out of that Reds pen, starting with, one of the worst guys against lefties in all of baseball. So you can play both sides. In particular, the lefties look good here, but of course, if you're going to Brewers, probably want that full stack. They should do some damage here. I'd be surprised, frankly, if they didn't. They're going to be awesome. So love the Brewers, particularly the lefties, but of course can play pretty much anybody in that lineup, right? I think is a strong play. But yeah, Rowdy Tellez, Colton Wong, Yelich in particular look good to me.
Yep. It's 3 for 3 on the Brew Crew tonight. Next game, we have the White Sox, we have the Cubs. 7 total, very low. Obviously, we like Giolito. Some interest, sounds like in Hendricks. This is a game where I won't be playing any offensive pieces. It's cold, 45 degrees. The wind's blowing in at Wrigley. I really, like I said, I'm not playing anyone here. I'll go to you first, DC. I mean, any interest in White Sox or Cubs bats tonight?
No, I'll have 0 bats from this game. Probably play 10 lineups and won't have a hitter from this game. I could say that with a lot of confidence. So yeah,
I have about 10 to 15, and I'm going to have 0 as well. AP, any interest here?
Yeah, no interest at all. I'm with you guys. I'm always a sucker too to play some White Sox bats. They just have a ton of power, but I can't do it. I think there's other better plays for sure on the slate, so I'm going to be off of them.
It does seem like the White Sox have just been in a bad spot, like in terms of the pitcher, the ballpark, whatever it is, like all season long.
I mean, Timmy Anderson's been getting it done recently. Like if I had to play someone, it would be him. I mean, at least he has plenty of power to get it done.
Yeah.
Early slate has finished up. Screenshots are rolling in on Discord. DC was all over it with his cores and takes early on. Absolutely love to see it. All right, got the Nationals and Rockies game. Before we get into the offensive analysis, we have to go to the best weatherman in the DFS industry. DC himself has been nailing these weather calls. I say it as a joke, but I mean, I think you've been hitting about 1,000 on these weather calls all season. So what's the weather looking like here for this Nationals and Rockies game tonight?
Yeah, it's dreary weather, right? It's going to be cold and windy. Like it's not a great hitting environment, no question. But I would be very, very surprised if this game didn't play all 9 innings. I don't think anybody's playing, I hope not anyway, Patrick Corbin or Austin Gomber here. Maybe there's a brief delay, but like, I don't know. We haven't had any rain here in Denver in like a month. I don't think it's going to be I just would be totally shocked if this game didn't play. So yeah, if you're looking at the bats here, I think you can play them with, 98% confidence, something like that. So go ahead.
Yeah, tend to agree with you. Now, do you have any interest in the bats in this game or what are you thinking here?
Yeah, I mean, it went off last night and I didn't benefit from that. I went in a different direction. I mean, certainly on paper, these guys do look good. Two bad lefties on the hill. Patrick Corbin in particular has been terrible. Gomber has been okay over the course of his career at Coors Field. But I think I'll probably fade it again. I like the Brewers better. I like the low-owned Blue Jays. The Yankees, in my opinion, have more upside, right? I just think they're way more likely to hit, 3-4 home runs as a team than the Nationals or the Rockies are. So when the ball's not flying in Coors Field, like it won't be tonight, I think if you're going here, I want the full stack, right? You want those hits falling in and the lineup turns over and you kind of collect the fantasy points as a group. But I'll be a little surprised if we see multiple home runs, frankly, in Coors Field tonight. So not my favorite place to go for one-offs, just because you're going to have it, your one-off, even if he goes off, it probably means the team did well. And there's going to be thousands of Coors stacks out there that you have to compete with, where your one hitter is, going to have to go up against those stacks. So it just doesn't make a lot of sense game theory wise for me to do that. Most of these guys are, somewhat fairly priced. So yeah, it's going to be mostly a Coors Field fade for me. Obviously, could go a different direction and either of these teams could go off. Wouldn't surprise me. But personally, I'll be looking elsewhere.
45 degrees, wind blowing in. I mean, not the best hitting environment overall. A 10 total in Coors is much lower than we typically see. AP, what's your interest level here in these Nationals and Rockies bets?
Yeah, first the question: am I taking over for title? Is he usually the one on the show? Because if I was, I would be obligated to talk up the Coors stack, because
you'd have to step away from the camera to finish yourself off. I mean, you get to the Coors game and Title can't compose himself.
Every time Coors goes off and I don't have it, I curse Title's name under my breath.
Pull up Discord and it's guaranteed to be in there, just posting the Coors gifs and everything. Title loves him some Coors. So here's how I see it. Like the Nationals, they went off last night in this spot. They haven't been as good against lefties, and Gomber, not really a guy that I want to attack. Like he's been good specifically outside of Coors. It's hard to be good in Coors, but he's been decent. And so I think it zigzag theory here applies. I think if you're going to stack it, you fully stack the Rocky side and you don't run it back with anyone. You go to some of these other stacks that we talked about. That is the play, in my opinion. Patrick Corbin, he's a guy that you fully stack against, or sometimes he randomly shows up with these gyms. We saw it in his last start. He had a good outing. The start before that, I think, was an absolute disaster. Yeah, he gave up a bunch of hits, a home run, and it was against the Giants. So again, I think I'm not going to say I'm full fading this. I could see myself having one stack. I do think I'll be underweight relative to the field, and I could full fade it. But if I were going to target it, it would definitely be these Rockies right-handers against Patrick Corbin.
Yeah, and I definitely think that's the route to go. The thing about Gomber as well, 3 good starts away from Coors, though his one bad start this season was in Coors against the Cubs. So, I mean, he's beatable, but I mean, this Nationals lineup just really isn't all that good. So me personally, much lower on Coors than I typically am. I'm not like to Titles level where I'm taking my pants off and doing the, taking care of business. But a little bit below that tonight. Not as excited.
Last night it went off, but like you were nervous about it. Like it was a fade that you were like, this could turn out badly. I'm going to do it anyway. Tonight, I'm sure famous last words, but I won't be as nervous, sweating this game if your teams get off to a good start, I would say.
Yeah, I will say the one guy, if you are fading Coors, that I would be afraid to fade is CJ Cron. I mean, he's just perfect for this ballpark. And what does he have, like 6 homers or something this season?
I think he has 9.
9? Jeez.
I believe so.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm way behind.
I think I'm going to have one full right-hand stack of the Rockies. Because the other thing with Coors, I like to stack it in these spots where the weather isn't as favorable because it takes ownership off of it as well. So if we can get a lower owned Coors, sign me up.
And the rain concern, another weather.
Yeah, let's get an orange.
In the industry is very concerned about this game weather-wise, so that could potentially lower ownership.
Get a red orange and fire it up. Kind of like the Royals today.
Yeah,
I hope it's not red. I'll feel a little nervous about my 98% if it's red.
One of the colors.
Yellow, orange.
Yellow, orange are good.
Yeah. All right, last game on the slate. We have the Giants. We have the Dodgers. Low total here, obviously 7.5. Goslin has been pretty good. Doesn't pitch deep into games. Team total for the Giants is sitting at 3.5, very low. Alex Wood, obviously a good pitcher, but he's one of those good pitchers that I think is beatable. I do have interest in the Dodgers, should be to no one's surprise. I mean, the Dodgers hold a special spot in my heart. So anytime they're not going against the absolute stud pitcher, I will have some interest. So I don't think they're going to be all that owned tonight. I definitely have some interest in the righties here. Trey Turner, Mookie Betts, Will Smith, three of the guys that I will be playing tonight. Mostly in a stack, though. I mean, I think this is a situation where you just want to stack them all the way up and hope Wood does not have his A game. So for me, definitely interest in the Dodgers. No interest in the Giants. DC, what are your thoughts here on this Giants-Dodgers game?
Yeah, I won't have really many Giants. We maybe should have mentioned Gonsolin when we were discussing pitching. I do think he is a decent option at 8.6K. This Giants lineup is kind of beat up. I don't think we have the lineup yet, but Brandon Belt has been out, who's their best hitter, in my opinion. I mean, the best hitter right now that's projected to be in the lineup is Brandon Crawford, right? So it's not like this is some brutal matchup. A lot of lefties. Gonsolin, though, has pitched pretty well. Should be pretty much a full go here, I think. So he's got a chance to put up 20 fantasy points, I think is realistic. Yeah, he's been 75, 83 pitches. Hasn't gotten super deep, but can give you 5 or 6. Things are going well. So I'll say that Gonsolin, if you play in a lot of lineups, he would be in my pitcher pool. I don't think I'm going to any Giants bats. Yeah, the Dodgers, like you said, who, if you want to stack them up against Alex Wood, that makes sense. But man, Wood does not get blown up very often. Throws a lot of strikes. Yeah. He's not the highest upside guy, but it's pretty rare where he's like completely melting down, which is obviously kind of what you really want if you're going for a stack. So for that reason, I probably won't be going to the Dodgers myself. It's just hard to play them when love the Brewers, and then the that Yankees Blue Jays game looks really tasty too. So I get the Dodgers stack, won't be going there myself. And then Gonsolin and or Wood, I think, makes sense as pitching options if you want to get different, but not in the top 4 or 5 guys for me.
All right, very good. AP, what do you got here in this Giants-Dodgers game?
Yeah, I mean, Jock Peterson, I think he's been one of the better hitters in baseball, especially against righties. Get a little revenge factor there. He's the one guy I'm looking at. I'm not a big one-off type of guy. I like to make sure my lineup's correlated and stacked up. But if I could somehow get him along with some of these other, if I was targeting a one-off home run type of build or whatever, trying to get the Judges of the world, and Jock Peterson would also be on that list with a little revenge narrative. But overall, I'm under on this game. And I typically, by default, tend to be under on these later games too, which sometimes can be painful, tournaments, if these later games go off and you get leapfrog, but not necessarily the case. And I will say I had been on some Dodger stacks with you early on their hoop, but I'm not going to attack Alex Wood here. I think this is just a spot where I think we have better plays. I will say the Dodgers are probably going to be pretty low owned, so it's going to be a contrarian stack. And I mean, that lineup is as talented as it gets. So if you're multi-entering, playing 150, I definitely would have that stack on my list. I don't see in my 3 builds that I'm making tonight. I don't think the Dodgers are going to make it into any of my builds.
Yep, totally get it. I mean, with the Dodgers in general, when they're in good spots, at home, probably my favorite team to stack. They always get lower ownership than they should get because lineup doesn't come out till late. Today's not the greatest spot, but it is a smaller slate. So I'm building about 15 teams. I have to play myself at least 1 or 2 Dodger stacks. So they will be in my pool tonight. But that does it for all the games. Let's see how we did on the likes. 160. You guys got there, but I mean, now we're up to 370 people. So you got to hit this like button a few more times and we'll get to the plays of the day. We really appreciate it. Funny, Bart Lockard in the chat goes, Hoops thinking it's Friday by stacking the Dodgers. Yeah, it might be what is today? Wednesday, a couple days early. But we're going to see if it works on a Wednesday night for once. How about that? We'll switch it up and see if the Dodgers can get it done for Hoopster on Wednesday instead of Friday. It is funny, actually. Last Friday, I had a chance. I had a team that was up there. They fell a little short, but it didn't include the Dodgers again. So they're just my team right now. So I definitely have to stick with them a little bit. But let's get into the plays of the day. We'll go to our guy AP first with the gentleman's call of the day. Who do you got for us, AP?
I mean, this could get vetoed, but maybe not, because I think given his price, it's way up there. I think
it's hard to veto in baseball just because there's so many guys and ownerships aren't very high. So it's got to be like super egregious, but we'll see.
Aaron Judge going yard again tonight. I'm showing lower ownership on him, so big price tag. It's going to be hard to play him in your lineups. I think I like Aaron Judge tonight.
Acceptable. Yeah, we'll take it. We'll take it. I think we all kind of like the Yankees. Love the call there. Go to me next with the rich parents play of the day. And man, I mean, I hate to do it, but I gotta go back to back. I'm going with the same guy last night. It's going to be Rowdy Tellez. Got the job done last night. Now he's in an even better spot tonight. I'm going to say he hits a home run in his first at bat. Okay, so we'll get specific with it. Home run, first at bat for Rowdy Tellez tonight. Fair price tag, great spot. We all like the Brewers lefties tonight. And the guy has some serious power and treated us very well so far this season. So give me Rowdy Tellez, rich parents play of the day. And lastly, we go to Mom's Basement for the Mom's Basement play of the day. Who do you got for us, DC?
Yeah, I will say the threshold for baseball is much higher than basketball, right? Where you can't choose some guy that's like 70% owned. You get a home run out of your play of the day. You don't really care if he's 30, 40% owned. You're happy to have it. So Aaron Judge towing the line, but we're going to allow it today.
It is towing the line. I mean, he's the one guy I think.
What's he going to ownership wise? Where do you guys think he'll land?
Probably 20.
I mean, Stan has to be higher, right? Because he's 4.6.
I'd say probably 20%. I mean, it's an acceptable play. We accept.
But I'm going to the same game as AP, but the other side. Matt Chapman, 4.3K on DraftKings, is going to take Nestor Cortez deep. I like what I've seen from Chapman so far. 4 home runs on the year and a lot of close calls as well. Hits lefty as well. So Matt Chapman, the Mom's Basement player of the day.
So we got Judge, we got Tellez, and Matt Chapman as the plays of the day. So we got good 7-game slate tonight. Good luck to everyone tonight. We'll be back tomorrow with our show as well. But for tonight, that's going to do it. For AP, for DC, I'm Hoop. Good luck tonight in your contest.